They're really making headlines. You gotta think about that one.
Just got this thing done.
This is why I want you here. You always give me encouragement. All right. Very excited today about our guest speaker. Jeff Royer and his wife, Joann, are the owners and operators of Wild Birds Unlimited, located at the Avenue next to Dick's Sporting Goods. They opened this business together in August 2022 with a mission to bring people and nature together through the hobby of backyard birding. Their business also serves as a personal ministry to give back to the people of our community. Prior to opening the business, Jeff was in multiple highly technical manufacturing industries for 30 years, starting as an engineer and moving into roles as vice president and president in multiple companies. Jeff's career took he and his family to 6 different states, and his extensive travels were to many far-flung countries with his responsibilities for international manufacturing plants, complex customers, R&D of new technologies, and developing advanced supply chains. Jeff and Joann live here in Murfreesboro. Their daughter Christina is a teacher, and she and her husband live in Franklin. And their son Zachary is an engineer, and he and his wife live in Cincinnati. So if you would, welcome up Jeff Royer from Wild Birds Unlimited.
Still.
Well, while the slides are keying up, I'm going to share another dad joke. What do you call a crate of ducks? A box of quackers. I got a bunch more.
It's loaded.
All right.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, sorry. Got impatient there. Well, one thing that's going to lead into this, I have some deeper presentations about birds and all kinds of cool stuff about them. But admittedly, I honestly decided just to keep it very basic today. Because knowing that we're all business leaders, we could use a little stress relief, a little calming, and that's what backyard birds do for us. In fact, there's a term for that. It's called ornithotherapy. This is an actual proven thing that is not gimmicky. It's a real science. It's been used and developed in various locations, especially for people that are going through lots of challenges in life. It's been used at progressive VA administration for those going through PTSD. It's been used as an assigned therapy for people that are dealing with anxiety disorders, have dealt with tremendous traumatic events, or they're widows, or challenges with their children, or just like a lot of us, a lot of stresses and so forth that always weigh on us. So, ornithotherapy is a real thing. I can tell you from experience in my tremendous stress from my background that's how I kind of launched into this, my wife and I, because we used it as that in our own backyard, in our walks in the woods and so forth. I personally had high blood pressure, didn't change anything, and went to the birds and blood pressure perfect. So, those types of benefits are very real. It's not just sitting looking at birds and thinking they're pretty cool. So with that, whenever our slides are ready here, we'll just basically, we're going to go through some of our most common birds here in Murfreesboro. Most of them you've seen, maybe some of you even feed them now, which is awesome. And I'll just tell you some fun things about them, and it's going to be very, very simple. And then if you guys have questions about any of that, I'm kind of a bird nerd myself, so I'll try to answer them if I can. So as you experience that in your own backyard, or even as you take walks in the woods, you can definitely appreciate birds. So one time. One other thing, if you do like birds and you like to identify them, I gotta recommend the world's greatest app for that. It's developed by Cornell University. They're a partner of ours, and some of the expertise of birding. And it's called Merlin Bird ID. Merlin space bird, and then the letters ID. It's been run through the gamut with ornithologists to prove that these sounds you hear are the real authentic bird is extremely accurate. So when you're hearing birds in your own backyard or you're on those woods walks and so forth, like, that's a very interesting sounding bird. You record that, and it's at least, by my wife and I studied, 98% accurate. So very, very good estimate, you know, that can help you a birding.
Whole thing is crashed.
I'm sorry?
It's a big file, and
Uh-oh.
yeah, I've got
It's got a lot of pretty photos of birds in it, so it's a big file. Sorry about that.
we'll get it
How
up.
do you spell Merlin?
Merlin. Yeah, Merlin Bird ID. Yeah.
Very
Yeah. It's got a photo feature as well. That's not quite as accurate. Sometimes it'll tell you a crazy bird just due to shadows and the angle you're going from, but the sound feature is outstanding.
Since we're waiting, can we ask questions?
I'm sorry?
Since we're waiting for the pictures, can we ask
Sure,
questions?
absolutely.
That way. Two things. One, and two questions. Tell us about the hybrid blue jay, green jay bird that was in Texas that was in the paper 7 days ago.
Yeah, sometimes some of those things happen, and I'm glad whenever bird news makes the national news, other than the fake news, the flu stuff, which is almost always fake news. Those types of hybrid subspecies that develop over time, sometimes if the genetics are similar enough, they can occasionally happen. It's quite rare, actually, but ornithologists love to study that because if they find that becomes something that's a little more proliferates,
Right.
then they'll identify a subspecies if that bird starts to proliferate.
And where do you find green jays?
I'm sorry?
Green jay?
Yeah, they're not here in the eastern U.S. Blue jays are ubiquitous. Blue jays everywhere. It's from the corvid family. They go wherever and everywhere through North America. The green jay is going to be a little bit more western bound, and then their very distant cousin, the scrub jay, is going to tend to be more down in Florida along the coastal areas. But the blue jay is going to be one on the slide, so I guess I'll just go ahead and tell you a little bit about the blue jay. The story I love to tell about a blue jay, when you think of blue jay, if you've ever had them in your yard and so forth, we'll get people come in the store all the time, and they say, that bird's pretty aggressive. You know, it chases the other birds off, it does this. I prefer to use the term assertive, not aggressive. You know, but here's the analogy I give to that. I grew up with a big brother, and he was always the first one to pick on me, right? You know, he'd do that as a big brother, as I guess they should, to train you for life and so forth. However, what he also did, he was always the first one to look out for me. So typically, if you are hearing blue jays really calling, they're not like some species where the males and females especially will call each other and do some of that. Like the cardinal, which is going to be the first slide up there, they love to do that. The male and the female, that's how they communicate, and it's a beautiful thing. Blue jays aren't as much that way. And by the way, the male and female look pretty much identical anyway. Is the blue jay, when you hear that calling, a majority of the time, this has been proven by studies, they are alerting everybody to a danger. And when I say everybody, I talk bird world. All those little birds that you saw them picking on and so forth, they're on the treetops, and basically they're saying, human, look out, hawk, look out, you know, something, cat, outdoor cats, they're the worst, right? So those types of warnings is one of the great positives that the blue jay serves for the rest of the bird community. So it's actually a very, very beneficial bird from that perspective.
Very specific question.
Sure.
So we moved in 2021, and we put up bluebird houses, which we've had for a while. And for 3 years, I don't know if it's the same pair, we like to pretend it is, but a pair of tree swallows nested in one of the boxes. And we loved it because they eat mosquitoes. So as soon as those babies hatched, they were literally swooping and eating all the mosquitoes out of our yard, for the babies. But they weren't there this year. And normally we would see, I'm in the mortgage business, so I would call it like real estate bidding, because you'd have like the bluebirds would be checking it out and the tree swallows would check it out and they go back and forth. But this year they just weren't there. So does a pair typically stop in the same place to nest? How do I make them come back? Because I like them both. They eat my mosquitoes.
So they may. So tree swallows' behavior will be very similar to bluebirds in terms of their area to habitat. And quite honestly, when we look at the populations of those two birds, I got to tell you, eastern bluebird, there's a lot of passion that comes into our store about eastern bluebirds, and that's awesome. But I got to tell you, in terms of the population effects, the tree swallow's population is decreasing faster than the bluebird. So we're always a fan when we hear people say the tree swallows are in their box. That's a wonderful thing. Partly because of the insect eating. They are an insect eater. But they're such a beautiful little bird. I like to think when they're sitting on top of the house, they got like this little tuxedo on. They're
They look like a little falcon.
Yeah,
Like they're only like this big, but they look
yeah,
like
it's a beautiful little bird. Yeah, in terms of attracting them, some studies through banding and so forth have identified that some birds do come back to the same location. We as humans like to think that happens a little bit more often than it really does for bluebirds and tree swallows, because typically, especially for the fledglings, for eastern bluebirds, they typically, as they fledge, they'll go find their own territory somewhere else. They won't tend to hang with mom and dad year after year. Now that being said, that's when I got to bring up the northern cardinal. Study after study have proven that a mated pair of northern cardinals, they will be with you, that same pair, in your yard potentially for years. And that's one of the things that a lot of us and a lot of people that really love their cardinals that come to their feeders and in their yard is they've adopted you as that territory. They'll have their families there. Obviously the fledglings over time may go out to establish their own territories, but mom and dad may in fact stay there for a period of years. How long can that be? Obviously, it's just like anything. What's the lifespan? Depends on sickness and predators catching them and so forth. But you could reasonably think if that's a pair of cardinals, the male and female together, that could be up to 6 years long that they may be throughout